AI is one of the only industries that is a self-sustaining bubble that they've created. It's like a bunch of different companies getting subsidies and then funding one another over and over again. It's without AI, I think there was like 0.1% GDP growth in this country this past year. Very cool stuff. Okay, very cool. That seems good. That seems normal. That seems awesome. Everyone is warning about an AI bubble, by the way. Not that it matters. It seems it doesn't matter. Buckle up. IMF and Bank of England join growing chorus warning of an AI bubble. And for me, it feels like, well, on the one hand, people are like, there's an AI bubble, but basically the counter to that is, nah, it's fine. Nah, it's fine. Yeah. Every warning sign shows that there is there's perhaps an AI bubble that is imminent versus nah, we'll be fine. I don't even know what is going to happen when this shit pops. Okay. Born too late for the .com bubble, born just in time for the AI bubble. Yeah. What does an AI bubble mean? It's just that AI companies are unimaginably overvalued, and they're basically propping up the stock market. And there are no fundamentals backing why there's this level of like investment into AI. And the only thing that this is like bringing for us is just like eco side, if that makes sense. AI development as it is going to hit a crazy dead end. Yeah, this is the diagram that I saw this morning, and it fucking bricked my brain. Here's how the AI bubble is being created per Bloomberg. Okay, just so you know, it's not coming from the wokes. Okay, it's coming from the wokes over at Bloomberg that are warning as well. You have OpenAI, you have Microsoft, Nebius, CoreWeave, Intel. NVIDIA is at the middle of this. NVIDIA agrees to invest up to $100 billion into OpenAI. OpenAI to deploy 6 gigawatts of AMD GPUs. AMD gives OpenAI option to buy up to 160 million shares. Like, I don't even know how to explain this. I don't even know how to explain the funding mechanism here. But it's just one big fucking circle jerk where the value is base boosted to unimaginable degrees, and it's the shit explanation. What this lacks is dimensionality because there is interest payments on all of it. It's an Ouroboros. Let's see what this TikTok or
here you go.
Thank you so much. Here you go.
Thanks so much. Here you go.
Thank you.
Okay, but what you fail to consider in this process is that we just generated like $800 billion, if not $1 trillion of GDP. Okay, the GDP increased by $1 trillion. It might be the same money exchanging hands. Okay, but ultimately, nobody considers how good that makes the stocks go up and how good that makes the GDP growth look. Okay,
so much. Here you go.
Thanks. Thank you.
Atriarch has an amazing video explaining this. This is super
I want to
clear.
something very, very, very interesting and important. It was about this. The world's most valuable company is investing $100 billion into the world's most valuable private company, OpenAI, linking the two titans of the...
Wait, what? Ask ChatGPT to explain it? No, it's the classic. It's the shit-eating story. Two economists are in the forest, okay? They happen to walk near dog shit. One economist says to the next, hey, I'll pay you $50 if you eat this dog shit. The second economist says, sure. He eats the dog shit, gets $50 in exchange for eating the dog shit. Then they happen to walk a little bit further in the forest. There's another piece of dog shit there. The second economist that previously ate the dog shit that has $50 in his pocket says, hey, I'll give you $50 if you eat this dog shit. First economist says, sure, eats the dog shit. Okay. They keep walking a little bit further and they go, wait a minute. We both just ate dog shit and the $50 just, came back into my pocket. Economist 2 says, yes, except we just increased GDP by $100. That's the story. It's the simple way of explaining how this story doesn't have to be about dog shit to make a point, lol. No, it does. It does. It does have to be about dog shit, okay? And eating the fecal matter. You don't understand it. It just has to be that way, okay? Is that a direct quote from The Wealth of Nations? Yes. And also Das Kapital. It's in everyone has only talked about it with this analog. There is no other way to describe it. Simplified in image form. Sorry for the millennial memes. Step 1, hire a friend for $1,000 to dig a hole. Step 2, he hires you to fill the hole for $1,000. Step 3, repeat this process indefinitely. Step 4, infinite GDP growth and job creation. I guess the libertarian counter narrative to this is the classic Milton Friedman thought experiment, where he goes to China. I think it was Milton Friedman. He's like one of these like fucking right wing, the anarcho-capitalist, libertarian or neoliberal weirdos. But basically, he goes to China and he's like, why don't you guys use more advanced tools? And the Chinese factory owner says, it's because we want to create jobs. So then he says, okay, instead of using a shovel, why don't you use a spoon then? Except that doesn't necessarily make that much sense, because you can have both. You can literally continue maintaining the jobs while simultaneously improving the tech and then just limiting the workload of the average person. It could be about cat shit too. You just hate dogs. Yeah, famous dog hater here. This is from Das Kapital. Yeah, stop hurting dogs, please. Okay, I hadn't started, but I'll stop anyway. The data centers were manufactured demand for NVIDIA, because how else could you sell chips that rate and that growth forever? When Nixon went to China in the 70s, he told them they could sell them a machine to dig a ditch with much less workers, and China asked them, what would all those people do without ditches to dig, is the story. And then the answer to that is, why don't you use a spoon instead of a shovel if you want to make it more, if you want to make it even less efficient. Except the way that China operates, or the way that China should operate, or the way that every country should operate, is that you continue with automation, but you still maintain those jobs, and you just limit the workload. You lower the burden off of the labor force while keeping the wages either the same or matched up to their output. There is a reason why theorists from 18th, 19th century all the way to like the 70s basically thought that in the future people would be working like 3 days max. Okay? 3-day work week, 4-day work week, except capitalism had different ambitions, okay? It just improved productivity, and the wages did not actually meet the output at all. And all of that productivity and the output in general, all the wealth that was generated from that process, went to an increasingly smaller group of people, just less and less hands overall. That's a big problem. But people don't even want to envision a world where you could simply create more for the company that you work for because of technological innovations, while simultaneously working less hours in general. Okay? It's just completely outside of our worldview. It's just not something that we ever foresee for ourselves.
Current age of AI. Obviously, upon this news, NVIDIA valuation skyrockets. OpenAI private valuation skyrockets. Other chip company valuations skyrocket. But it left me and some other analysts with more questions than answers. There's more going on under the hood of this $100 billion deal that I think we all need to take a closer look at. But before we do that, I have to go back a little bit. I have to introduce a third player to this game, and to explain them, I have to start with bicycles. Okay? I want you to imagine that you run a bicycle shop. That means you buy bicycles wholesale from a factory and you sell them to customers with a markup. That's your business.
Oh, this is a classic example.
Business reports their earnings. They have a top line called revenue. That's where the amount of money you just made in raw cash. If I sold 5 bicycles for 20 bucks each, I made $100 in revenue. That's your top line, okay? And then on your statement, you will subtract out all your costs. So you might take out wages, 40 bucks, rent, 20 bucks, the bikes themselves from the factory, 30 bucks. And what does that leave you with? Simple math. What does that leave you with? Somebody said 0. That's no, it's not 0. It's $10. $10 of profit. Okay. This is your top line, basically your revenue. And this is your bottom line, your profit after you subtract everything. Okay?
Why is Atriarch doing theory streams and you're not? Do you think this is theory? I mean, I guess technically it is, except if theory from a left perspective or a Marxist perspective would talk about how this is the value accrued as a direct consequence of the surplus output of the workers, as in the $10 should be going back to the wages under a socialist structure. This is why Marxists consider this aspect that capitalists love to be exploitation. Okay?
So on an actual balance sheet, it might look like this. Income statement might look like this. Okay? But in the world of investing, you either want to be growing your top line, that means selling more bikes, or you want to be growing your profit, your bottom line, by making more profit. It could be cutting costs. It could be raising prices, whatever. But you have to be growing one or the other to show growth to Wall Street to get your stock price to go up. If you're doing badly on both, that means your company's not doing all that great. Now, I want to introduce Oracle, which is now the 15th largest company in the world. Oracle, massive growth company, and its CEO, Larry Ellison, okay? What Oracle does is they build the data centers that other companies rent out to use for AI. They look like this on the inside and this on the outside. Now, what's very interesting about Oracle 5 days ago, when they had a massive stock surge, is they reported their earnings and they did not beat on the top line and they did not beat on the bottom line. They had no revenue growth and no profit growth. And yet, somehow, their stock went to the moon. Why is that? Why would that happen? Truly awesome quarter. Stock goes up 30%. They made Ellison, the CEO of the company, the
Fuck Atriarch. I'm really disappointed in you, Hasanabi. What the fuck is this shit? I mean, I think he does a pretty good job of explaining stuff like this. And secondly, we've already talked about this, but like, this is a man who has done virtually everything in his power to try and redeem himself. If you still hate him after all of that, that's fine. But like, you know, he still did it. I know. I think you guys need to understand something, but growth is important. I think allowing people to better themselves and you know, especially if they've made an earnest effort to redeem themselves, is a fundamental part of being an empathetic leftist. So many other creators, the platform, man, disappointed. It's okay. Watch Atriarch believe the dog collar shit. You're speaking too soon. I don't care. If Atriarch came out tomorrow and was like, Hassan is buzzing his fucking dog, I know it. That still wouldn't change my approach. Okay? This is something that is very important for me to explain to every single person. I am a firm and committed believer in rehabilitation. Okay? I am a firm and committed believer in rehabilitation. And if someone has done something awful, as Atriarch did, okay, and then they recognize the harm, and then they seek atonement and turn around and actively work to combat further exploitation or further harm, as he did, okay? So you will platform any awful person as long as they're left so disappointed in you? Is that what I said? No. Expand even further than that. I will platform any awful person as long as they have made an active effort to literally rehabilitate themselves. It has nothing to do with left-right dynamic. I think you guys are failing to understand. This is a fundamental principle that I abide by. I'm a believer. I don't even think Atriok is a leftist, for the record. I mean, he very much is an enjoyer of capitalism and a defender of capitalism. And in spite of my disagreements with him, if he's like doing a decent job explaining something, I'm gonna look at that. You sound like Jank right now. No, guys, I don't think you understand. This is probably one of the biggest disagreements I have with like a lot of baby leftists in general. Okay. And it's we're derailing. Okay. My position on people, or like my opinions on this fundamental principle that I abide by in terms of people that are actively trying to limit the harm that they might have engaged in the past, is something that I'm committed to regardless. Okay? I don't know how you handle the scrutiny of policing. I think it's important. I think it's important to address this whenever it comes up. Because I do think that Americans in general have a very carceral state attitude, a very draconian culture when it comes to when it comes to seeing people in their worst moments forever. It leaves no room for redemption, and it leaves no room for rehabilitation. That's why I always say charitability is key. What has he done to atone, though? Not watching AI porn on stream since the incident? First of all, he didn't watch AI porn on stream. That's crazy. But no, he actually did use his own fucking money to like go after those websites and take him down. Yeah. Chat, remember the last emperor of China. Oh, you're talking about Puyi. After the Communist Party took power, served his time in the fields, and then returned to society as a fellow citizen to those he once ruled. Yeah. So if you're rich, you can buy your way out of any consequence. No. I don't even think he's that rich, for the record. And this is not about like the financial penalty, because a rich person could just as easily move on. I don't know, pay for PR or something like that. Move on, pay for PR, and continue living out their days. What's wrong with chatters having to respond with something so fucking stupid to every word Hassan says? He apologized, backed it up with action, and is cool with loving them now. Chat needs to chill, man. Atonement was genuine. Yeah, I mean, and for the record, if you guys still have your your criticisms, or if you're still skeptical, that's fine. I'm just telling you how I operate, right? And this is something that I have believed and been committed to as a principle for my entire professional media career. Anyway, let's continue.
World's richest man. He passed Elon Musk. Why would that happen? Big question, okay? Why would Oracle rise to rank 14? The answer is not necessarily bubble or necessarily recession indicator or necessarily anything. It was because of a very simple number, their RPO number. During the announcement of their earnings, they said, yeah, we didn't beat our expectations for revenue. Yeah, we didn't beat them for earnings. But what we have is growing RPO, remaining performance obligations, which has been rising and rising and rising. And then they announced this. Now, RPO is things we're gonna do. It's deals we've signed that we haven't been paid for yet, is a very simple way to put it. So what they announced was, hey, look, we're not making more money now, but we have signed some deals where they're gonna pay us $455 billion in the future for data centers we're going to build but haven't built yet. It's deals, okay? It's deals. And when they announced this, the stock went crazy. Holy shit. There's so much revenue coming. It's not here yet, but it's coming. So let's catch back up. These are the three players we've introduced so far: OpenAI, Oracle, and NVIDIA. Let's just connect the dots here really quick. So OpenAI doesn't build the data centers themselves. They can rent them from companies like Oracle. So OpenAI is the one that signed this deal, by the way. This $300 billion addition came from OpenAI signing a deal to rent some of their data centers. So they are going to give hundreds of billions of dollars to Oracle to rent their data centers. Oracle, when they have...
One aspect that he's also not bringing up here is, is it worth it? Okay. I don't think so. Right? I don't think it's worth it. Like I don't think I'm a Luddite for saying that I don't think it's worth it. It's just like the ecological cost of operating these things is not worth the dog shit, streamlined, more efficient version of like pumping stupid art, if that makes sense. What is the ecological cost specifically? It destroys the environment. It absolutely destroys the environment. It destroys the water supply. It is a sink for electricity. It actually is responsible for it is actually responsible for your electricity bills skyrocketing. And not only that, but also it's basically putting us on it's being utilized for mass surveillance. There's cognitive offloading in terms of like the way people approach ChatGPT and other AI tools right now, all so that people don't have to pay like random artists. You know what I mean? At least with generative AI. And on top of that, the better it gets, the worse it gets for all of us in terms of misinformation, considering the misinformation landscape. Look no further than the past 72 hours in the news cycle, right? Now imagine if AI videos were almost like a 1-to-1. You could just make AI videos about, like political opposition and people wouldn't know any better. Bruh, don't you think that using AI is just like people making fun of you for using Google to look something up? No, I don't. I don't think that, because I think there's a difference between like there's more efficiency in searching something on Google as opposed to having to like drive your car or take the train to your local library, okay, and opening up a dusty Encyclopedia Britannica, right? Having said that, at a certain point, it goes beyond a trade-off. Or at a certain point, it goes beyond like a maxing out on efficiency when you start utilizing it for as a substitute for your brain, as a substitute for critical thinking, a process called cognitive offloading, which I think is going to be something that people talk about a lot more frequently in the future. It's something that, it's something that scientists are currently talking about. There are numerous studies on the negative impacts of consistently using LLMs as opposed to doing your own research and engaging in critical thinking. But like a big part of schooling in general is supposed to educate you on that aspect all the way to college. If AI in and of itself had an ecological cost, but it was also genuinely improving people's lives, I think there could be an argument for it. AI videos and art is a drop in the bucket. It's a side thing to increase interest and investment. The real goal is to create artificial general intelligence, which could perform all actions a human can and even more. The AI people want to get there, and everything else is for data and hype. They think once they get there, they will have the biggest breakthrough in history. It's a race on maybe faulty beliefs. Tinsid, thank you for the 25. Get the subs. Yeah. But all of the investment currently being dumped into like the flashy aspects of AI are terrible, I think. Some people say generalized intelligence is never going to happen. AGI will never happen. Adrian is online. Thank you for the 20 big ones. But like, it's interesting because when we think about Google,
you're under arrest right now because we have a video.
Yeah, it's interesting because like we talk about Google, right? We're like, oh well, don't you think it's AI is just basically like a maxed out, clapped out version of a fucking Google search? And AI itself is actually streamlining so many bullshit websites that it's actually harming Google search and its efficiency. So it's making it harder for you to get access to real information or credible information. I don't think people understand the significant crisis in disinfo that we are facing currently. where just false narratives run amok. And then the AI has the capacity to make fake information that it truly believes is correct. And then the new AI that comes after that is also being trained on that faulty information. There's a reason why, for example, Israel is spending a good deal of money trying to train ChatGPT to be more pro-Israel. What do you do with that? If we are over-reliant on AI to give us this accurate information, and it can be manipulated, and it can be tweaked literally almost single-handedly by like a person. Like, think about Facebook, right? Facebook is botted into oblivion. Think about the dead internet theory. Like, these things do have the capacity to change people's minds because we're social animals, and that social experience can be replicated in a totally fake way. That's the reason why people botted comments on my YouTube video instantly, right? They want to drive discourse in a certain way, and it works. Human beings are social animals, so they're very malleable. They're very persuadable. They see a bunch of other people leaning in that direction, and they go, this must be true because a lot of people feel this way. Every single social media platform that we use is getting absolutely cooked right now due to these bots and due to AI. And I think it's only going to get worse. Keep in mind that ChatGPT, Sora, Gemini, all this stuff makes these companies negative money. All of them are operating at a massive loss. They're trying to keep the hype going to bring in enough investment that they can afford to keep losing money while researching towards AGI, which would theoretically make all that money back. But every link in the chain is fragile. And if one breaks, the whole thing does. As a machine learning scientist who works in the domain, I don't think we're near AGI at all, as the architecture itself is not made for it. I don't see it happening for the next 3 years. Beyond that, it's hard to tell. Check my last message for a classic example chat will easily understand. What is this? Example of AI inefficiency. I saw this and lost my mind. We're 1000xing the processing power required to do basic logical tasks that have been solved for years, toggling a Wi-Fi light bulb via Siri. I built my first ChatGPT app. It connects with my Philips Hue lights so I can control them directly for ChatGPT. After logging in with my Hue account, I can view the status of my lights and control them with natural language. Here's a short demo. I don't know, man. I just see, maybe I'm too old for it, but I feel like I actually am fortunate enough to have been born in a generation that came before AI was all over the place. I think if you're parents right now and you want your children to have a leg up and be better automatically and be smarter automatically than like 90% of their peers, it's better to try to train them and educate them in the old methods. They should still keep an eye out for AI in general. They should know how to use these tools. But I think it's very important for them to steer clear of that sort of thing and read and train their brains to engage in critical thinking, because I feel like that will automatically make you a much smarter individual than those who are hyper reliant on LLMs, because I think the next generation is completely cooked.